Welcome to Chasing the Beats, a show dedicated to weeklybeats.com artists, their songs, and stories from the 2024 season. I'm your host, SQF. And our guest today is Every Road a Railway. And welcome today to Every Road a Railway.
Hello, that's me.
Awesome. Glad to have you on, and thanks for reaching out and organizing stuff. I've had great response to, I guess, me calling for participants in Discord and on the show, so thank you for everyone who's reaching out.
I saw a few people reached out after that. So
Yeah, it's been good. That
organized just a little.
yeah. Well, we were talking before we hit record of like streamlining the process so that this is like a feasible thing to do, and that's one of them of like not having to go track people down is a nice part of streamlining this. So
True. It can be. It's important to get people together, and it can be very hard to do that.
yes, like herding cats, as they say, but we've had many cats on the show already.
But
So
you already had 2 cats on the show. I think you got that one covered.
yeah, so well, glad to have you. And kind of how I have been starting out most of these shows was this past Weekly Beats your first?
This was my first Weekly Beats.
Awesome.
I heard about it on the M8 Discord and was like, that seems like a good use of part of my week all of next year.
Yeah.
Around January.
Yeah. And since you found out through the M8 Discord, how long have you had an M8?
That's a good question. I had it for a little while. I got mine with the BRK batch, or
Nice.
the batch that was quite deeply discounted for two circles that if I hadn't actively looked for them one day, I never would have noticed.
Yeah, that was the scratch and dent batch, essentially,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, mine had 3 very, very small, slightly discolored circles, and other than that, it's just like, and with just how dusty my space usually is, they're literally invisible.
Well, that's good.
Like, they blend into the dust perfectly.
So, no problem accepting that discount then.
Oh, yeah.
So
Plus, they have that cool laser etching.
oh, yeah, the design on the back. Yeah. So, like many people, I assume that you joined to actually output music, is that correct?
I joined largely to, like, share music with other people.
Got it.
Because I had been making music off and on for a couple of years at this point, but,
Mhm.
like, sharing it is a different matter entirely. Like,
Oh, for sure.
like, being like, the difference between having something finished and, like, enough that you wanna show someone, and and having it finished enough that you're going to move on and do something else afterwards, it's a very big difference. Like
Yeah.
like, because it there's a level of, I am happy that I made this, but it's not accessible to other people because, I wasn't worrying about that when I made it.
Right. And how much of your Weekly Beats music, or, like, how did you find that line of, like, getting something to a point where it's shareable, versus like I'm happy with it, or like how did those two meet up?
Well, whenever the week was over, whatever I had, that was shareable.
Got it. So there was it was more of the time limit that justified the shareability.
Yeah. Share part of it is just sharing it means it's done. It's not mine to work to keep working on
Got it.
anymore.
Got it.
This will yeah,
And
go ahead. Sorry.
what was your music making experience prior to the M8?
Hmm. So, uh, let's see. Like I played guitar back in middle school when I had no time to learn the guitar, so I cannot play the guitar. But I've had that itch off and on in the back of my brain,
To like
and
create music.
like after about how many years was it that my grandpa kept asking me what I wanted for Christmas, and I never answered him because like wanting things is not something that comes very naturally to me.
Mhm.
I I I answered uh synthesizer, and he got me a Syntact, and
Oh,
that's what
wow.
that's what
Damn,
I
grandpa.
started on.
Wow. That is I feel like if I asked my grandpa for a synthesizer, I don't know what I would get. It wouldn't be a Syntact. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. So
yeah,
you, played around on the Syntac for a while.
yeah. Cool machine. Sounds amazing. I loathe using it
Oh,
in a
really?
lot of ways. Like it does not gel with what I want a synthesizer to do.
Interesting.
I uh, I find that it has features to do everything and doesn't specialize in anything, and that didn't work for me.
Got it. So it's a little bit too, all-purpose.
I I could never find a compromise between being able like the every time I wanna use it as a playable instrument, I
Yeah.
I struggle to find I to find the things that will let me do that. Like, there's a lot of
Mhm.
just little things that I want it to do that it just can't do. Like, if you move between 2 patterns that have all the same sounds, you will have a gap when you transfer between them where anything you've
Yeah.
changed doesn't stay. But if you stay in one pattern, well, you're not using a bunch of the ability to you're not using it to its, like, potential as
Mhm.
like you can make a lot of cool sounds on it.
But
And
as
then when I
far
try
as,
to
performance,
write something on it, it's similar issues in other ways where I just there are perpetual frustrations. It's so generalized and has an interface that doesn't let me do composition well or perform
right.
live well.
Yeah.
Like I touched it a couple of times over this year for writing and trying to use it as an external instrument,
Mhm.
and I keep finding that it just doesn't fit for me.
Yeah. I recently got a Digitone too, and I'm still, really kinda learning it, but I feel like there is a little bit more of a performance aspect to it versus the M8. So I'm
Oh
kind
yeah.
of curious how you find kind of that performance aspect on the M8 because I haven't really gotten there with it yet. I find the M8 is like really good for composition.
Yeah. See, the mate may appear a generalist instrument because you can do so much with it. It does FM, it does old chiptune styles, it's got wavetables, but the mate is very much a specialist in like composition.
Yes.
Everything else it does is really good. I love it, and I have done some pretty cool performance stuff with it. Uh,
Okay.
usually that involves attaching something else that has a few like dials on it to
Right.
use MIDI with, but I have also found some touchscreen stuff. Was how I actually got into doing performance stuff on the M8.
Touchscreen stuff on the
Yeah, you
M8
can bind
touchscreen.
that to MIDI parameters, and if you
Oh, cool.
if you do, and I usually use it to do like 303 filter and resonance as the two
Nice.
axes, and it was fun. Then I started hooking up the the syntax to have 4 knobs to do all 4 of the big
Yeah. Yeah.
303 parameters.
So it's just a
Uh,
glorified MIDI controller.
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I I ended up towards the end of the year just I now have a bass spot TT303 because it ended up being one of the things I used most this year between doing a patch like that on the syntax to then moving to controlling the M8 using the using Mikey 303's preset
Nice.
303.
Yeah.
Shout outs to the Mikey 303 rave pack for getting me through this year.
Yeah.
Whenever I didn't know what sounds I wanted on a track, I would just go browse that aimlessly and
Yes.
always found something workable. Some of
Yes.
my favorite tracks.
Thank you, patch creators, Avril Cadabra, Mikey 303. We need more patches. So what external stuff do you like to hook up to the M8 besides your syntax for like performance stuff?
I honestly, I most of the stuff I did was either written in Ableton or written on the M8. Like,
Got it.
uh, I have. Let's see. Let me remind myself what's coming up on songs that are going to be played. Oh, we got one M8 and syntax track actually,
Okay, all right, good.
and we got one Ableton track, 4 mate tracks that are
Nice.
all M8,
Got it.
and one on the M8 and syntax.
Cool.
And I don't think and I don't think any of them have. I don't think we got any of my acid tracks in there, which is
I
funny as hell.
I thought we did. I swear there's definitely some 303 action in Axe Machine, right?
Is there?
I
I get
wrote I
Axe
wrote in my
Machine. Oh
I wrote
no,
in my
Axe
notes.
Machine. You're right. I get Axe Machine and a Hospital Wave or the one that I call Hospital Wave, despite it being an incoherent line of text that starts with an H, because I wrote that particular track after having my gallbladder removed.
Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was reading through your comments and I messaged you this on Discord, I was like, you overcame some obstacles this past year.
Yeah, this last year was a pretty good year considering all the terrible things that happened.
Yeah, it's like your
It,
gallbladder, you were
we,
like sick or tripping, carrying a burrito, or
my,
like, I mean,
my headphones
your headphones
exploded. Like,
exploded. Like, A
So
goddamn tragedy.
yeah, all in all, Weekly Beats is gonna make this go down as a pretty good year for me, though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just
You came out all right on the other side, and you made music
I made a lot of music.
even from the hospital.
I wrote 52 things this year.
Yeah, it's
50
amazing.
53 if you count the redoing one of my redoing one of my earlier tracks on LSDJ proper because it was a chiptune track.
Got it.
Though I still need to go back and make the chords that are in it, the chord progression, the actual Pokemon chord progression, and not
Mm.
the one of the chords is supposed to be a flat chord and was just not flat. And I'm a little embarrassed about that, though. Though,
Everyone just thought it was a stylistic choice, you know?
yeah, I yeah, there's a lot of good stylistic choices in that, but we should get to that one when we actually play it later.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Good job choosing 3 tracks that I have a lot to say about too.
great.
I'm glad
I
I'm
love
glad
to provide, fodder for discussion.
I'm glad that I had it narrowed down to 4 tracks that I wanted to have on here. So I'm glad you chose one of those tracks for me.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad too, because you made me pick first, and never sure, how that's gonna go down.
Yeah, it's all it's interesting because I wanted to know what what stood out to you.
Oh, we'll
I
get there, we'll get there.
it's fascinating having a lot of other people look at things and
Yeah.
see what like
What sticks
name
out versus what you like, it's interesting.
also just what names people react to and
Mhm.
what just kind of doesn't get that.
Yeah,
Like part of getting part of like this is like the more the more you talk to other people about their music, the more they're going to come check out what you did this week
right.
cuz I made sure to make a point every time somebody left a comment to go listen to their
Same,
track. e-
same.
Even if I didn't always manage to comment back cuz I had a lot going on in
Yes, you did.
I
But it's nice to go check out other people's stuff when they take the time to listen to your stuff and comment on it, so
yeah, I tried to show some appreciation to that by
yeah.
during the last couple months of this. I ran an ill-conceived commenting on weekly beats and playing mahjong stream.
Nice.
It was it was a very bad idea for several reasons. One, one, the stream was unwatchable because it was just an overstimulating mess. Uh, two, all the alt tabbing. I actually had to cancel the last like 3 weeks of the stream because I gave myself a repetitive stress injury doing it.
Oh my god. From
And
over commenting?
well, yeah, because I had to tab back and forth between the things I was between
Oh my
the
god.
two because I have the one monitor. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have an easy way to set that up. I have the one computer and one monitor. But
I mean, that sounds like a fun time even if you got an injury doing it.
yeah, next
So,
next year I'm gonna or next weekly beats I'm gonna just do a laying on the floor listening to all the allows derivative works uh
that sounds good too.
tracks and trying to leave a comment on a bunch of them because I realized at some point this year God damn it, I'm stealing my comments from all the tracks we're gonna listen to.
Alright, don't waste it all yet.
Yeah, no, I'm
Uh,
saving this. I'm saving. We should. ask your next question.
Well, it was
I'll bring this thread of conversation back up
all right.
when we listen to Lost at the Lake.
All right. What did you give yourself any particular challenges this year? Because I know a lot of people give themselves all sorts of extra challenges on top of just doing 52 songs.
I honestly, I didn't think I was gonna make it past like week 5 of this year.
Same.
I The fact that I managed to do all 52 weeks and only had to request one late link
Oh, nice, nice. I mean,
on week
that's
5
yeah.
because I accidentally uploaded the like the file that when you export things in Ableton, it like tags that so you can pull it back
Oh,
in.
yeah.
I accidentally uploaded that instead of the file for it.
Yeah, can't listen to that.
You couldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a lot of silly challenges because I found them inspiring when I just didn't have an idea.
Okay, so you gave yourself some, like, smaller challenges along the way when you weren't inspired.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
notable challenges that really got you inspired?
We'll talk about there's 2 of them. We'll talk about one of them later,
Okay.
and
Gotta
the
just keep asking stuff that we're
the
gonna
second
talk
one,
about later.
there yeah, you picked good songs.
Alright.
Actually, that track is, like, 3 deep into that challenge, so I'll just talk about it now. There's a joke in the Weekly Beats community about you could just submit a kick drum sample with, like, a long effects chain on it,
Mhm.
and I did that, and that ultimately, inspired, like, a whole line of different tracks that I made.
Okay.
I also did there's a one channel challenge that people do on the M8
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Discord where you just use one of its 8
Yeah.
columns to, have
One track,
yeah,
technically.
the one track to have all your sound, and your sounds
Mhm.
have to cut each other off because it's a tracker, and that's how trackers do things.
Right.
I, I found that, that that to make a lot of styles of music, knowing when certain sounds are supposed to cut each other off was one of the biggest skills that I learned this year. To write certain types of music, you have to know how like for acid, you have to know how the 303 sequencer works to
Mhm.
write it on an instrument that's not that. Like you have to know that between if between 2 notes, you will have you will cut uh cut it off after 3 ticks because the 303 sequencer is the 303 sequencer does that.
Mhm. And so to emulate that on, like, the M8, you would have
You
to
would
sort of, like, manually do that.
yeah, you would have to put the kill command that tells it to stop the sound after
Mhm.
3 ticks on the M8 because they have a sequencer that goes the same they work at the same resolution of sequencer.
Got it.
Or for like old drum and bass type stuff, you need to know that like you n- you need to know that each instance of a new slice of sound will cut off old ones,
Mhm.
and like that to take a break and slice it into chunks. Like you part of the sound is that you get that you pitch the slices to get it up to the speed, and that's what makes it sound like that genre.
Mhm. And so for your single track M8 challenge, you kind of figured out the best way to cut off the sounds to build the
Yeah,
song you wanted.
you the thing about that challenge is, like, you you want to keep the forward thrust of this sound going by having things that happen at regular intervals, and then in the gaps between those, you create a melody and, like, a bass line.
Got it. So
I know a lot of
those will kinda get chopped off, but then you have the, like, steady, like, almost like timekeeping rhythm elements that, like, keep it moving forward.
Yeah.
Got it. I mean, that sounds like a pretty cool thing to learn. I have not tried the M8 one-track challenge yet, but I think that's on my to-do list for next weekly beats.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
What other things did you learn throughout the year?
one of let's see. Nope, that's another track we're discussing.
Oh, jeez. Jeez, you're primed. You're primed and ready.
Oh, let's see.
Like,
I
similar to what we
I like
started out with, like
okay,
oh,
I've got
you got
another.
one. Okay, you've
Yeah.
got one.
One of the most important things I learned this year, I didn't do a good job implementing it this year, and I'm paying the price these last 3 months, is the importance of keeping organized. Like,
Yes, yes.
I decided
I
that
have a robust folder structure.
yeah, I don't, and I didn't. I lost, I think, 2 tracks that I made this year. I lost,
Oh,
the songs, the M8, uh, structure for them because I accidentally saved over them.
no.
Because because it so that's a little embarrassing, but I'm glad they're uploaded. The exports exist because I uploaded them to Weekly Beats. I
That's
have
good.
I have the nice exports too, not just the MP3s that go up.
Got it. Yeah, those are good to have. Any performance learnings of just like
It's over like, it it's pretty overwhelming to, perform a track. Like, I
to perform one as a recording?
yeah, like, I know the first time I did that, I had, like, 4 things I wanted to do, and I only managed 2 of them
Got it.
because, like, it
Yeah, it's difficult.
ultimately, you
It's a
have
different way of making music.
ultimately, you have 1 ultimately, you can only really do 2 things at a time unless you involve, like, foot pedals and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you have the 2 hands, they're gonna and anything that you wanna do performance-wise on, like, electronic instruments like the M8 or the or a drum machines or synths, you have to know what your hands are doing,
Mhm.
and
How
you can't do
about
them.
workflow learnings? Like, for me,
I
just like, cranking out a track every week, like, similar to this podcast is like, I gotta get, like, more efficient at, like, just making it happen.
workflow yeah, one of the first things I learned workflow-wise is that you should always make an iteration of what you're doing early because then it's easier to figure out where your song is going, like,
Like an
instead
early composition, you're saying?
yeah, starting with just instead of starting with, like, "I wanna build all of the sounds that are going in this," like, I like to start with I've l I've liked to starting with, "How do I want to make this song, and how do I want it to
Mm.
structure?" Like, w is it going to is it going to change by changing sounds, or is it going to change by bringing parts in and out and in and
Mm.
out? Or am I building this song around a date related polyrhythm?
Aha, yeah. Always a good one. My go-to. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I was stressed out in September,
You're finding inspiration.
and I I channeled that into a lot of my tracks that month. Like
Interesting.
I had, let's see, did I have anything in September that wasn't me just being absolutely exhausted by the month of September for me? Oh yeah, I had
I'm
one track at the end of September.
I'm curious about your song building strategy. Do you start with kind of like placeholder sounds and then go back and do more sound design? Like, I
A
think this
lot
is
of
an
the
interesting process.
a lot of the time I like to start with the drums because for a lot of genres, they are defined by how they do their particular drums.
Mhm,
So,
yeah.
like, if you're working with, like, kick, snare, like a kick, snare, hi-hats, like boots and cats sort of beat, you wanna
Mhm,
have your you wanna know what your drums are sounding like because there's a lot, even that has a couple of cool ways of doing it, like, you can do a track for the hi-hats, track for the kick and snare, or you can do it like a kick hat, snare, s a hat, etcetera,
it
repeat.
it kinda sets the stage for the rest of the song.
Yeah, or if you're doing something that's breakbeat heavy, like, you start with the breakbeat, you put your I usually stack another, kick and snare on it,
Mhm,
because it just helps define that pulse that keeps the music going
yeah,
forward, and, uh, then you start getting into your, like, micro edits, your like, just roll this, repitch this
yeah,
to get a feel for where it's going, and then you copy that, mutate it, uh, or like for the kick snare hat type thing, having like a double an extra kick every
mhm.
4
Some
bars.
variation.
Yeah, like starting with that gets a lot of the worry about feel out of the way, and then you can start building your instruments on top of that.
Yeah. And, like, because you talked about, I'm planning out the song and I want to kinda move it forward by, like, bringing different instruments in and out. Like, so you're sort of planning ahead of time a lot of the structure, and then you're going back in, and are you doing, like,
I
finding an instrument that, like, "Oh, that this works here?" Like, tell me about that
I
process.
like instruments are instruments are always interesting because a lot of back to going back to workflow, like, as a concept, like, just building up a repertoire of instruments that and presets that you like to
Yeah.
use starts to help you have a sound set that you reach for when you start
Mhm.
making the composition. I know that I reused the bass presets I designed for the second song I made this year in about 10 tracks.
Yeah.
Like they all all of them ended up with a distinct sound and use that differently. Uh,
Mhm.
but having a couple of presets that I created that sound makes some of these songs sound like an Every Road a Railway song.
Yeah, well, and it, like, gives you like, once you kind of have your
Palette.
palette, yeah, so I was gonna say quiver of arrows.
Oh, that's another good framing of it.
Then you can sort of, like, hear them, like, "Oh, this needs this bass I always use, like, right here." Like, you can start to, like,
It would
see
sound
where the
familiar,
sounds need to
yeah.
go. Yeah, yeah.
Like, and sometimes you just don't have the right sound, and that's when you go like look go do start doing sound design or
Yeah,
go look through the Mikey 303 rave pack
yeah,
and find a sound that's appropriate there in the
exactly.
in that.
You either go hunting or building.
Though I do have some tracks that were definitely started by the sound design. Uh like
Yeah, I
I
mean, there's always those sounds that you're like, "Oh, this is gonna, like, kick this song off."
like like again, I did a couple of just one sample at the start of the song that gets thrown through so many effects that it makes the whole song sort of things with
I think
the
I may have picked one of those songs, so
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
That's
think we've been holding off long enough on the conversation of about the actual songs that we
yeah,
should actually listen to them because I feel like you have a
we
lot
should
to say.
yeah, we should start with, since we're on the topic of songs that were created this way, we should probably start off with you with eulogy for a dying answering machine.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see here. All right, we're going out of planned order here. This is a first on the show, but let's do it. All right. So this was one of my picks, by the way.
I'm sorry, the musician you have dialed is not available.
All right,
Uh,
that was Eulogy for a Dying Answering Machine. And I really love this one. First, I'll tell you why I picked this one, and then you can just go off because I know you're ready.
oh, I'm ready.
So, I really wanted to include this one because it felt more like an experimental exploration of sound, but I feel like a lot of times when you talk about like experimental sound tracks, like there's not always a perceivable story, but this one really feels like it's got a whole story. Like there's the arpeggios going that I I think those are maybe like some sample and hold arpeggios. It's sort of like playing in the background, and then there's like this melody while these vocal samples are going on, and then everything sort of fades away to just that melody. And I just love everything you did here. Tell me how you made it.
So yeah, the first track I did like this was a track called was this one actually is spawned from that Weekly Beats joke of a kick drum that has a minute long trail of reverbs and delays.
Got it.
So so a couple weeks ago, I had done 2 tracks of that. That this uses almost all of the same sound, same effects as Kick Drum Dreaming of Mahjong,
Mm.
but it, instead of but I substituted the sound for me saying, "I'm sorry, the musician you have dialed is not available." And because this track is largely built on Ableton's resonator and spectral resonator, it those pick out a completely different section of sounds to add harmonics to. There's
Okay.
there's the rhythm, which is one set of a delay going through that with the pitch dropped to get like a fundamental like rhythm feel going,
Mhm.
and then another one on the arpeggio, which is like this big, like fat chord that's got like 12 notes going up and down, and that goes to you send that to you can MIDI control Ableton Spectral Resonator, and it will it will spin off the sound into those beautiful sparkles there. Um,
Nice.
and then the uh, the the melody line was the one of the big things I added to this from the original kick drum challenge thing that I did, because
Got
I
it.
wasn't like beholden to have it be just the kick drum this time. And that's one of my favorite it's a vocal synth, it's like a free vocal synth plugin called
Mm.
Do Re Mi Lam. And uh I find that when you put it in a mix, it always sits beautifully and creates this very like eerie, beautiful sort of
Yeah.
either vocal, or it often if you put some effects on it, it turns kind of woodwindy.
Yeah, it almost sounded like a mellotron to me.
Yeah, I think part of that is the saturation at the end of that
Yeah.
really brings out a lot of very bold.
That melody makes it though. Like I feel like it gives it, like you said, it sits right in the mix and it kind of gives it the story to me while all this
Yeah.
other stuff is going on.
Yeah, it really brings something to focus on when all the when the answering machine type message starts to devolve into noise
Yeah.
in a way that I think this is one of the most beautiful compositions I did this year. I love this track.
I love it as well. So, we started out on the right foot.
Mhm.
Which one should we listen to next?
Oh.
Should we pick one of yours next?
I say I think you since I called the first one, you should pick the next one.
Oh boy, let's see here. Let me look at my notes. I'm gonna go with Sleep. Here we
I
go.
love I love sleep. the most important lesson I learned in Weekly Beats is, uh, from this track is it's really important not to be negative about your music because this track is so many people who I have shared my music with's favorite track of mine. Um,
Yeah. That was a
like,
really important lesson.
and when I was only like very slightly negative when I posted this. Uh, I said something to the effect of I'm not really quite happy with how this came out. And my opinion on it, like a week later, completely contradicts that. And this is one of my this is my partner's favorite track that I made. This is this is my stepdad's favorite track that I made for the early
Nice.
part of Weekly Beats. I ended up getting to share some of my music with one of like my childhood inspirations for like really wanting to get into music, even though when I was young, I because of school, I just didn't have the time to learn this
Yeah.
stuff, and it's their favorite track that they pointed out.
Awesome. How do you how do you think your perception changed, or like was it the response that made your perception of the song change, or did it just kind of grow on you after the fact?
It's it's the distance from having created it, because like, there's a really big difference between when you're interacting with your music as the creator of it
Mhm.
versus when you, like, release it and get to instead of being the person who created it, you get to be a listener to your own music,
Yeah.
and that's something that was really important for, like, my growth and confidence in making music, releasing it in Weekly Beats, because all the stuff that I ever made before I got involved in this, uh, I never really got to go to it as a listener instead of as a creator,
Yeah.
and, like, that really is important because as a creator, you see all of the rough patches and all the creative decisions that you might want to make differently. But once you just let it go and take it as its own song,
Yeah.
you get to appreciate that. You get to appreciate what other people appreciate about your
Yeah.
music. Like, it's
Or
not.
you're at least able to see more of what they see and sort of forget about the all the second guessing that you might have done along the way.
Yeah, it's also about the like a lot of the times it's very easy to look at the music, how it's technically impressive or unimpressive, or like it. There was this thing that you spent a lot of time fussing about and you had to discard, or this thing that just like you chose to do it a particular way, and that way created so many problems for you, uh,
Mhm.
but created a good result
Yeah.
that like once that frustration with all the pain points in creating a song
Mhm.
goes away, you
Yeah, like making a decision that takes you down a creative path that you're like, "Oh, why did I do that?" Like, this is so much worse or so much harder than what I was even trying before.
yeah, that's about right. That's so right.
Like, "Damn it, I wish I had the version from, like, 2 days ago that I saved over," like
I I wish I wish I had done this a different way. I
Yeah.
ac I actually did make a song that is very related to this song that I did the easier way, and it's it's good, but it's not as good as this
Got it, yeah.
'cause I
Yeah.
made
It's nice to know, like, even through that hardship and all the maybe second guessing that like it came out great and other people appreciated it and you can view it from a different perspective now.
Yeah. Also, the funny thing about this track, it's one of many tracks I released, and made largely when I couldn't sleep during the night because
Uh-huh.
I have insomnia, and I found that out through weekly beats. I have a very whenever I
If
wake
you're
up, I
not
have a
sleeping, you better be making music.
when I yeah, I have a very hard time falling asleep or, like, getting back to sleep if I wake
Yeah.
up unless I'm, like, with my partner.
Yeah, I feel that. And yeah, if you're awake in the middle of the night, write a song.
Yeah, you can just pull out the bait and go to the couch.
That's right. All right, you pick the next one.
Yes, okay, sleep. Oh. Let's talk about our bodies absorb trauma and whether we want them to or not. I want to give up
Yes.
mix.
All
This
right.
is this is the song from that time when I was getting food, and, this is the burrito song that came up earlier.
Yes,
I
yes,
tripped out
you.
I tripped on the stairs in the middle of, where I live.
God damn it. All right, let's listen to it and think about tripping on a burrito. All right, that was Our Bodies Absorb Trauma Whether We Want Them or Not. I Want to Give Up mix. And there's definitely, like we just talked about, some burrito tripping trauma related to this.
The burrito tripping was like I mostly brought that up because it was like really sad at the time, but I knew that once a bunch of months had passed, it would be really funny to have that like with the song.
I mean, like I said at the top, you had a rough year, and this is just like par for the course in your descriptions of like, I'm in the hospital, I had my gallbladder taken out, like I
Yeah.
tripped on some stairs, and yeah.
Uh,
So tell me about how you made this song and the process. Like, this is such a just fun dance groove, great four on the floor, catchy bass, these like swirling pads, melodies, and then this sort of like almost like at first like a riser, but then it just like keeps going, like
oh yeah.
squashy sort of thing.
Oh yeah, it really does work like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I was
Oh, I
like, "Wait,
hadn't
what's
thought
happening?" And I'm like, "Whoa."
I hadn't thought of it like that. That's
Yeah, there's your riser.
oh, I should steal that idea for a new track.
You
'Cause I do
should.
a lot of cymbal based, like the classic reverse cymbal noise
Yeah,
riser,
yeah,
but having just that really destructive sound riser with
yeah,
like the bell mutating into like this just
yeah. Brave
howling
Cat,
wind.
last episode schooled me on, like, everything I need to do to create 3 different kinds of risers, so I need to go back and listen to it and, apply those lessons, but this is another good one.
Ah, that oh, that's smart. A lot
You're like, "I'm writing this down."
Yeah, I should write that down. That's a good idea. I don't know who came up with that.
So tell me
I
more
have
about,
I have
like,
a really
the
bad
creation
memory.
of this song.
Yeah, so the idea here was I wanted to create a song that, like, was, like, sort of brought that performance aspect of the syntax into
Nice.
things. Uh, I the original title of this song was actually something about, like, try trying to, like, love something that you hate because, like, working with the syntax had frustrated me for so long, and I wanted to put in the effort to, like,
Mhm.
appreciate it as its own instrument.
Yeah.
I I didn't end up getting there with
But
it,
you gave it a try.
like, I I pull it out at, like, every 3 months and try to make something on it
Yeah, like, this is gonna
because
work.
because, again, it sounds amazing, but the work but it really made me appreciate, like, how much my workflow, uh, works on, like, building on preset sounds a lot of the time because the sound design is interesting because when I first got into, like, electronic music, I thought the most important things about an instrument were, like, how it sounds, and I don't
Mhm.
remember who the interview was with, but there was an interview where somebody was asked, "What's the most important part of a keyboard?" And their answer was kind of facetiously, "How it looks."
Mm.
And this I think about this a lot because that's really because the expectation is it's about the sound, and the more I do this, the more I really don't agree with my past self on that.
Yeah.
I find the most important things about a synthesizer for me are how fast can you get like a preset sound or just for for even for or for just like the 303 how you have your preset right there. That's the
Yeah.
entire synth.
It's like, how fast can you get to something that inspires you?
Yeah, is my that's my first that's like one of my first things that I want in a keyboard.
Yeah.
And the second keyboard or like a drum machine or any other thing. And then the second thing is like that's most important for me is like how how quickly can you pull out the things you want to change in a performance? Like if like again bringing it back to the syntax. It's like you can change a lot of sounds on there really, but you have to navigate through the page and you can only really be changing one instrument at once.
Mhm.
Uh which like yeah, instruments that are more specialized, yeah, you can only be changing that instrument, but it isn't stopping you from changing the other instruments you have.
Right.
And I ended up near the end of the year picking up a micro Korg, and one of the things that I like about that a micro Korg too is that you can assign all of its knobs to pull different parts from different pages and have the most
Oh,
interesting things assigned to
that's
the
cool.
knobs and to the mod wheel and stuff. Where and like the 303 is another example where all of the things you could really want to change about it, you just have the knobs for that.
Yeah.
And the M8, you can assign MIDI to all the different instruments if you want to change
Mhm.
it live.
Yeah, that's a nice capability to be able to, like you said, mix up the parameters across different instruments or different settings pages versus the Syntakt or, a lot of Electron boxes where it's only that one instrument or that one page where you get the knobs.
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
thing another thing I always like to think about is like I found out that I like specialized devices. I think I mentioned it
Mhm.
earlier, but the M8 I as general as I consider it, it is sort of a specialist device, unlike
Yeah.
the syntax, because like you can just write things so fast on it. It's such a good composition device.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. Trying to make songs on the Digitone is not the same.
Yeah, I
Uh,
I think about the digitone keys a lot because I always love how I always think about how nice the digitone can sound, but I just I like but like I always think it should be a keyboard instrument.
yes, I pretty much always have a keyboard connected. Even though I'm not really a keys player, it's just nice to have a keyboard to noodle around on. It's
Oh
a
yeah,
different idea machine than, like, plugging in notes into the M8.
true. I have been starting to like practice piano this year because I found that it that yeah, working with a keyboard is just very different,
Mhm.
and you get there are a lot of instruments that have keyboards that give you
Mhm.
so many different things you could work with, like I like plot twist for next weekly beats. Instead of being an electronic musician, I'm half tempted to just do all my weekly get an accordion, save up for one this year, and become an accordionist for next
Hey,
year's weekly beats.
people will listen.
Oh yeah, like I I have a deep love for that instrument.
Well, who's picking the next song? Is it my turn?
Let's see. Yeah, it's your turn.
Alright, let's see here. I'm gonna go with Axe Machine. All right,
Oh,
that
that's
was Axe Machine. What made that one of your picks?
oh, I wanna talk about my favorite sample pack.
Do it.
It's it's from This Museum Is Not Obsolete. It's it's the, museum that Look Mom No Computer runs.
Oh,
They
sweet.
but they have a lot of sample packs of old, like, technologies, like, obsolete technologies,
Mhm.
or just technologies that's not used anymore, and this is a bunch of the sample pack that when I did let's see, when I did a eulogy for a dying answering machine, I struggled so hard to, find, like, that beep when
Oh,
the
yeah, the leave a message at a tone.
yeah, I couldn't find that tone, so I went out of my way to look for, like, telephone samples, and one of the things I ended up doing, a lot in a lot of my tracks after that is there's loops in there of just sounds of telephone exchanges and, like,
Yeah.
all the mechanical relays and stuff
Mhm.
in them, and they make really they work really well if you treat them like a drum break,
Yeah.
and they create a texture that is so different from a lot of stuff, and I love that. I love that so much.
And is that what this song starts out with, is a bunch of those telephone exchange samples?
Yeah, this is that layered with I think it's the think break.
Okay.
So, the one that has it's the classic break that has those, like, ad ad lib vocals in it
You're right,
that
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
make it very distinctive when it's in a, like, drum and bass
Mhm.
type concept or other, like, broken beat
And fits
genres.
with telephone exchange samples.
Yeah.
It's a
And then
303.
yeah. Oh,
That I like there's just, like, all these sounds going on. It's a treat for the ears.
yeah, like, having a lot of, like, sounds that come in and out or just there briefly is something that I love to do because the process of, like, iterating on a track is something that I found is so important to, like, making a song feel like a song that you wanna listen to that has, like 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 you said with Eulogy for a Dying Answering Machine, that has a story going on,
Mhm.
that goes places, that depending on what you want, you either expect and it's, like, really exciting when it does, or that surprise you and take you somewhere that you didn't expect
Yeah.
going on this trip, but
Yeah.
it's fun to see where it goes when you know that it's not where you thought it was.
So, like, the fun of the iterative process for you is, like, leaving those little sound bits where you wouldn't expect them and then sort of, like, taking them away when you anticipate them, that sort of, like, creates a hole in, like, where you expected it and it's not there.
Y Yeah, the core of, making something feel like a track is, like, creating anticipation and then, like,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
a release where you that's the part where it goes from, like, you 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 feel like a groove, and then you feel a feeling when the anticipation builds
Mhm.
or releases, like,
Yeah.
that's one of those, like, things that having interesting things that happen in the song. Like, again, that, when, we were talking about our bodies absorb trauma, that, like, when it goes and decays into that really screeching part
Yeah.
where it pulls where that's where it goes from, like, you feel the groove to you feel, like, the tension of that just
Yeah.
tearing in you.
Mhm.
Because that is a feeling I felt a lot that September, which is why I did 2 distinct performances of that track.
Yeah.
Because I set that up because I knew that I was not going to be able to, like, make anything on the week of my birthday.
Got it.
I knew that it ahead, and I s I tried to set myself up for success.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's super interesting, and, I mean, I think we're all trying to build songs that have that anticipation and build and release, but at least for me, it's not always attainable. Like, it's something you want to do every time, but, like, the songs that you kind of hit the mark and make that happen are the ones that you're like, "Hell yeah, I did it."
yeah, yeah. I know there's a couple of tracks where I definitely don't feel like I did that, but I'm not bad mouthing any of them because
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah,
lessons that
no,
I
they all have
learned.
their place. They all have their
They
place.
have their place, and even
Yeah.
when you don't succeed at it, they can still be good tracks.
Yeah, like, I never like going to someone's track description and them being like, "This thing kinda, like, sucks." 'Cause I'm like, "Man, let me make my own opinion."
Yeah,
You know?
exactly,
I'm like,
exactly,
maybe I'll like it, but you already put it in my head that it's gonna be bad."
exactly. Like, it feels bad when an artist says, "I don't like this work," and you come to it and or you end up loving it, or you
Yeah.
already loved it before you saw that, and now that's a little painful to see.
Yeah, yeah. Or like you said, you sit with it and view it from a different vantage point, and you're like, "I actually do kinda like that."
True.
True. Alright, we've got 2 more songs left.
Yeah.
What is the next one? We've got, "Lost at the Lake," "My Headphones Exploded" mix, and what is Lorelai's dugong dreaming about tonight? Did I say that right?
Yeah. let's go with Lost at the Lake by Headphones Exploded mix because, the last one I'm probably just gonna end up rambling about Pokemon for, like, 20 minutes.
All right.
I love me some Pokemon.
All right. Here is Lost at the Lake, my headphones exploded mix. Here we go. Tell me about that one.
Oh, this one? Terrifying to mix because I was mixing on, like, just my, when I listen to music, I just have a Bluetooth type speaker that I like to lie on the floor and listen to music with, and I had to mix it entirely on that.
Because your
Becau
headphones exploded.
Yeah, so I
Like, this isn't just a song title, this is life.
yeah, no, my headphones, uh, I yeah, I was working on music and my partner came in and gave me a hug, and the headphones I was wearing, just like the part that does the swiveling, yeah, it just exploded. Like like my headphones were completely unusable after that.
Uh,
So I had to wait while I got new ones.
and mix
Um,
on the Bluetooth.
and the song came out really well. You were, mentioning a part where you could we were chatting
Yeah,
a little bit while we were listening to
I
the song.
so I was saying, let me read my notes here. So, like, it starts out with that kind of, like, I would call it, like, a ghostly vibrato melody, and then these layers build, and there's a cool bass line, and then there's, like, kinda, like, vowel-y sort of synth that comes in, and the tempo just keeps increasing.
Yeah. So, like, you were saying it, like, felt like it was increasing, but, like, I actually did live automate the tempo to go up for part of it because I thought it would be really interesting effect, and I do love how that came out in this track.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
did come out good.
it ratchets up the, like, really eerie feeling, 'cause
Mhm.
this was also, like, the week after the, solar eclipse came over.
Oh, okay.
So like, there was this real we went out and saw it at a lake, and I had a lot of feelings about just the sun went away and everything got cold, and that's what I was trying to channel here.
Yeah.
I also, if you listen to a lot of my music, I really love trying I love synths that emulate speech or are trying to be that.
Yeah.
I I know, like,
I'm picking up on that.
I did some really fun stuff with a vocoder. I I liked working with the vocal sample to make that complete, like, wash of chatter from
Mhm.
from uh,
From Axe Machine?
Eulogy for a Dying Answering Machine. The
Well, they
one where
both have some vocal samples going on. But yeah, Eulogy for a Dying Answering Machine has
I don't think I
lots.
actually used vocal samples. I think that's another synth that
Oh,
was
okay.
making vowely sounds, because it's so fun. It's
Yeah.
it's so fun,
And
like,
at the lower registers, it almost sounds like a duck.
oh my god, it does sound like a duck. Oh my god.
Which is perfect for the lake.
True. I hadn't thought about it like that. Thank
See,
you.
you painted a whole picture and you didn't even realize.
Yeah, sometimes, like,
I pictured you
a little
lost at the
accent.
lake and the duck was giving you directions.
Oh my god, yeah. I th
I feel like
I
you
th
need some duck merch now.
Oh, that's a good idea. The other thing I wanted to talk about about this track was, like, this was what really the track that really pushed me to start trying really hard to leave comments on other people's tracks, because I got a comment on this track that said, "This song either makes me hungry or wants me to feed it." And this comment is so confusing, but it made me so happy to get it. Like, I realized that, like, you don't like I listened to it and it made me feel something is a really powerful thing to say to somebody else about their music, even if it, like, to you, when you get it to them, or it,
Yeah,
when you get that, it might be completely baffling. Just saying something like that can bring so much joy to somebody.
and, like, how do you even come up with that comment? It's brilliant.
Eh, I'm I'm gonna be real, this might be the single best comment anybody's ever left on my weekly beats.
I love it.
Probably followed up by some of the inspiring things that Weekly Beats legend Orange Drink said.
Oh, man. He Orange Drink does leave great comments.
Love Orange Drink.
Yeah, I think he's
I've been
gonna be on the show here soon.
I've been toying with the idea of doing a cover of what was the Orange Drink song that I've been thinking about doing this with. Let me go look it up. But there's an old Scottish pop band called Orange Juice, and they were one of the first bands to ever use a 303 on a track, and I really want to cover "Throw Me Overboard" in the style of of Orange Drink or Orange Juice, with the 303 and the guitar sounds and the saxophone. I think it would be funny funny to do an Orange Drink cover in the
That would be
style
good.
of Orange Juice.
I like it.
And I now have a going back to vocal synths, there's Vocaloids. Are you familiar at all?
Not really.
Well, they're a way of like doing full like voice synthesis. They're in that category. Uh, fa-
Mhm.
famous Vocaloid, most famous being Hatsune Miku, but they're they're somebody on the okay, story time. Somebody on the M8 server had a showed was showing off the stylophone pocket Miku, which
Mhm.
is just a little stylophone that you play with a stylus and it makes voice sounds.
Mm.
And I tracked down a blog post about this that mentioned that there was also a key keytar developed with this, but like completely neglected to like name it or get any info on it. And I had to spend like 2 months tracking down what this was because I think because like the thing about this chip is that it instead of being like something you do in a DAW and do a heavy amount of editing, it's meant so you can like play it play these play this voice live with
Mhm.
like I and it has but in addition to that, it's also a keytar, so it has some like built-in like just sounds, and one of them is a saxophone sound, and it's pretty nice. And so I have a fun way of doing this.
So looking up that instrument inspired you to
It well, funny enough, it's also inspired me to start learning Japanese because
Oh, wow.
the instrument only makes the sounds that are in the Japanese syllabary.
Oh, got it.
It was never intended to like make it to the United States at all.
Wow.
It had to like my partner had to like import it and
So you
it
have this instrument?
oh yeah, the yeah, I have a
You
Vocaloid
tracked
keyboard.
it down and you bought it.
Yeah, it's
And now you're learning Japanese to harness it for its full abilities.
yeah. I lo yeah, I
Wow.
love yeah.
Wow.
One of my other favorite artists in Weekly Beats, w also does Vocaloid stuff. I really love some of the songs that, Judgment Act did.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They did their first song was a Vocaloid song, and they also did a track called, How to Fail as Miku, where they had finished a track and, like, they got a track to a point where I was like, "I don't know what to do with this," and it still has my test lyrics in it because I didn't know what to write. So it's got a got lyrics that are just like this is my test lyric something to the effect of this is my text lyrics. If this makes it into a track, you've got a real problem. And I love this track. It's so beautiful because because because
This was a collab you did?
no. I wasn't
This is
involved
their
in this track.
Oh, okay.
This is just me rambling about Vocaloids and music that I love that is part of Weekly Beats and also sorry, sorry, I'm here derailing the whole podcast.
I'm drawing out a Venn diagram here. Uh,
It's like uh,
well, we could go on all day about vocoders and,
oh,
accordions.
vo- vocoders are cool too. I had a track at the end of the year where I used a vocoder to to s- to get like this like gnarly synth, but it also had words that it was saying, which like it was one of the cool things about vocoders because
You can make them say things.
yeah, you just it they merge two sounds. Like you can put two synths through a vocoder and get like really cool colorful sounds that way. Like this isn't a classic way, but it it's one of the it's a technique that gets used like a lot in like in color bass, which is
Mm.
like a dubstep next like genres that came after like uh, bro step dubstep. Like it's a derivative of that like tradition of sounds where it's
Well, should we pivot to Pokemon?
yo, let's go. Let's listen let's listen to what is Lorelai's dugong dreaming of tonight about tonight.
All right, so how we do this is we're gonna play out the episode with that song, but we're gonna talk about it now.
Oh, okay, yes. Sounds good.
So tell me about how you wrote this. This is, I would say, one of your more chiptune leaning songs. And when I listen to this song, it feels like the perfect background music to a video game where I'm like exploring some pixelated world.
Yeah, so this one is directly inspired by the music of Pokemon. I I had watched a video of somebody breaking down some songs from a Pokemon game, and I love music that video game music is interesting because it has to be able to loop. You have to be able to listen to it a for an extended period of
Yeah.
time, and just that idea had stuck in my mind. I love it has this part in the middle where it uh, repeats the intro, but I doubled the track, and it. I love how that's how I put the loop point in the song. It's a moment that creates an interesting thing if you're listening to the song over and over.
Mhm.
This is also like this is also inspired by one of my favorite video game glitches of all time. It's in the original Pokemon game, Pokemon Red and Green, and I think it's in Red and Blue, but I don't I know in the yellow they put a specific exception to stop this from happening. But if you have a poison type Pokemon out against one of the members of the Elite Four, Lorelei, uh, their Pokemon will see a move that causes them to fall asleep as like this move is going to do a lot. It's super effective against poison type Pokemon. So you so they will just fall asleep over and over and over and over. So I brought into this like what are they dreaming about when they
I
sleep?
see.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
what is going on
This
there?
song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I can see that. Yeah, I mean, I the melody is catchy and it's definitely one of those that like can go on and on and on while you're exploring this world.
uh, I actually did another I actually later in Weekly Beats went back and because I wasn't like as experienced with like how I like drums to feel, I
Mhm.
I didn't I didn't build the drums in a chiptune style. So we've got like just class just like the drums I had used for most everything up to this point.
They're
Uh,
still kind of like not necessarily chiptune, but
they're
like
they're Game Boy Advanced.
okay, yeah, yeah.
They're
There
like
you go. That's a good way of putting it.
they're
And they
like
kind of have some like little like reverb to them.
yeah, they fit really well.
They are at home in that
Like
song.
I'm also very proud of when I went back and redid this like 8 months later in Little Sound DJ. Uh, like the thing that the M8 like takes the
Yeah.
workflow style
Mhm.
from, and I did chip drums with it, and it sounds so cool.
Nice.
I'll have to I'll have to get that up somewhere. I'm
Yeah.
trying to. I've got a.
Remix.
I've I've got a. I'm trying to get like some of my music up on YouTube, and I've just got everything up on Bandcamp. So
Nice.
like I've got
Well,
the.
challenging when you don't have a good folder structure.
Oh yeah. Oh god, I forgot to show my Bandcamp at the start of the podcast. Oh no.
We'll add it in the description.
Thank you. Anyway, everyrotorailway.bandcamp.com if you want to own a copy of everything I made this year. You can also download it off Weekly Beats, but if that takes you more than half an hour, the $7 are a pretty good deal,
Yeah, that's a
assuming your
deal.
time is worth
That's a
worth
deal.
$15 an hour.
And, support your artists.
And it goes towards the Every Road to Railway accordion fund.
There you go, which I think you need to sell a lot of albums to get that accordion.
Well, yeah, but
How much is a
I can
decent
also put
accordion just so I can.
money towards it. Let's see, it's about 2,500.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Like, this is for, like, the big one with all the buttons. You can get, like, scaled accordions for less, but I'm very much of the opinion that if you're gonna buy something, you should, buy a nice thing that you will not, like
you're a
you will
purist.
not wanna, like, stepping stone into something bigger.
No.
Like, just
No.
buy a nice piano, and then you have a nice piano, and you don't, like, want
Yeah,
want for you don't want for, like, if you buy a shorter piano, you don't want for the extra keys, etcetera.
exactly. Yeah, don't cheapen out. Commit. Commit. Well, that takes us to the end of the show. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, happy to. Uh,
Yeah. Great to explore more of your tunes
Thank you
and
for having me.
and yeah, everyone give a shout out to Every Road or Railway on Discord or on Weekly Beats and that Bandcamp. So until next time, we're gonna play it out with what is Lorelai's dugong dreaming about tonight? All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.